Good morning, I'm Bob Morrison, Superintendent Garland ISD, and it's my privilege to welcome you to the rededication of the Student Services building. One of the very first meetings I had in this district with Tony Torres was Tony came to me and he said, there's a family that you need to get to know, and told me the history of the Valle family. And then, of course, when you go to Homer's for breakfast in the morning, Homer talks a lot, as y'all know, a lot of stories. And I heard a lot of stories about the Valle boys and all of their athletic, times that they had in Garland. And I just want you to know, Homer is speaking a little bit later. We put him on a notice. So if Homer starts going too long, everybody kind of, all right? Because everybody knows Homer. He can talk. But one of the nice things is, no matter where you go in this community, the Valle family has a tremendous reputation. And on behalf of the district, to all of the members of the Valle family that are here, congratulations on this dedication. And as the superintendent of this district, it is my privilege to welcome each and every one of you here. At this time, I'm going to recognize the board president, Rick Lambert.
Before I get started with a couple of thoughts on behalf of the Board of Directors, I want to make sure and introduce my colleagues that I stand here and represent today, in particular Dr. Cindy Castaneda, who is one of our trustees, Mr. Larry Glick, who is our vice president, sitting down here on the second row, and then Linda Griffin, who is our most tenured member of our board. We are here today proud to recognize the Valle family, and I think you all know that the Latino community is our largest community in the school district, representing, I think, around 49% of our student population. And we're blessed to have this community as part of our school district, because it is the Latino culture that fosters some important things that are key to the success of our school district. Two of the things that are key, I think, in educating our kids and that are important in any school district are community involvement and parental involvement. And the Latino community and its culture assists us with achieving those goals. And the reason is because if you look at the Latino culture and think about what that culture represents, number one, family. Family is a key part of the culture. It's the center and always a top priority. The values of trust, obedience, respect, loyalty, humility, and affection are encouraged in the Latino community. In addition, the community itself is known for being reliable, hardworking members of our community. And I can't think of anything more that we'd want to teach our kids than those values. And then, of course, relationship builders. The community, the Latino community, is a we community. It's a community that builds relationships, leverages networks, promotes unity, and a common vision. That's what we need in GISD. And so this is why it's important. The Valle family is obviously a long member of our community, but we're proud to recognize them because that culture and the family itself and its contributions to our school district are the kinds of things that we want to put forward and put in front in what we're doing. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Homer.
I'm the luckiest guy in this room because I had the privilege of either teaching or coaching every Valle that went through Garland High School. And I don't know how this happened, but this did happen. There was not a Valle that I ever had to paddle, and I paddled nearly everybody went through there. And, Pascal, I never did paddle him, and how that happened, I don't know. But I'll say this, the Valle family were the best that I ever saw. They got in Pascal in 1949 was your year. He made All-State. He got every award at the assembly that year that they had to pass out. And there's only one of them that I didn't approve. They gave him most handsome, and I felt like I felt like that I should have had that. Now then, Bobby's going to follow me, and I don't know what he'd say this, but I think that the Valle boys, he was 5 times All-Pro for the Baltimore Colts, and I think they should have got part credit for it, because they played on a vacant lot every day, all the time they was coming up. And Bobby, I think Valles have some credit there. And anyway, they were great. I never knew a Valle that ever got in trouble. You had to paddle. They had the detention. So their parents taught them how to act, and they intended for them to do that. And I'm a big on the Valles. Thank you very much.
It is great to be here. I have a lot to tell you about the Valles. You know, I lived right across the street from them from the time I was maybe 6 years old till I was like in high school, something like that. And I can tell you that we played a lot of football, I was young, and you know, I was knocking on their door about 8 a.m. in the morning, and they didn't want to hear it. They were in high school, and they had maybe stayed out a little late that night. But I just couldn't understand how they couldn't get up and be ready to play football at 9 o'clock in the morning. And you know, I would wind up. I'd go to Miss Valle. Miss Valle run the kitchen, and she would supply me with some tortillas, and I could wait. You know, I could wait a little while, and they. I would eat and wait, and the boys would get up and get out of bed, and they would. Miss Valle made a deal with me: 2 pieces of white bread for 1 tortilla. That was what we cut out, and it was fine with me, you know. But I was trying to get those boys out of bed. I couldn't do it. But we played touch football. We played morning, and then we'd go in for lunch, and we'd come back and we'd play in the afternoon. I learned more football from those days than you can imagine. Things that stayed with me my entire career. Those days, by the time I got to high school, I'd seen it all. There wasn't anything in football I didn't know what was going on, and I thank them for that. For all the knowledge they gave me for later in life, I thank the Valles. Thank you very much.
Well, Bobby told a little story about trading white bread for tortilla. I know that we had other neighbors that they wanted our tortillas and butter, and they'd trade a biscuit for a tortilla. Well, when they didn't have a biscuit, they'd bring a fork or a spoon for a tortilla. And we had most of their utensils over at the house. Anyway, I'll say good morning to all of you. And I'm going to speak for the Valles, these two, Jesus and Eugenia. But first, I want to thank the school board and the school board trustees and the superintendent, where you hide, there you are, for voting and approving of this renaming of this building after my parents, Manuel and Maria Valle. Well, I'm Pascual, as Bobby and Homer already said, and my sister and brother are here. And I want to welcome everybody this morning for coming and sharing with us this special ceremony. This is a big deal for us, the three that are remaining out of the 8. I only wish that my sisters, Lupe, my brothers Manuel, Joaquin, Jose, and Luis were here to enjoy this day. It's a big day for us. But I know they're watching from above. But anyway, and the only reason this is happening because of the relentless effort of Tony and Lupita Torres, Dr. Reeves, and my wife Sylvia. They worked on this project for 10 years, and maybe a little bit longer, but they did a heck of a job. This is a great honor for the Valle family. You know, after I told my granddaughter, Kristen, she's back there somewhere, I told her that they were renaming this building after my parents, Manuel and Maria Valle. We call them Mom and Dad, Mom and Pop. And she said they're naming this building after them, Manuel and Maria Valle. And she said, well, Pappy, that makes me famous too. Because I have that same last name. And I said, you sure are, you're famous. And anyway, she knows that it's a big day for us. So I want to thank everybody that's involved. I'm sorry nobody heard me. Well, I want to thank everybody that's been involved in this program. So thank you very much.
I'm Sylvia. And first of all, I want to tell you about the pictures. You know, before this, our nephew Richard and Nikki Chase, our sister-in-law, myself and Pascal, looked through a lot of pictures, and we were trying to decide which pictures we were going to choose for the picture to be put in this building. So we chose these two. They were little ones. We had them enlarged, we had them restored, we had them framed, and we're real proud of them. And also over there, we're also very proud of the a resolution that was given to us by Angie Chan. Oh, there she is. Hello, Angie. Angie is our state representative for this district, and last October we had a Hispanic Heritage Banquet that is sponsored by the GAFA organization, which is the Garland Association for Hispanic Affairs. And during that ceremony, she came and presented that resolution, which is from the state of Texas. And we're so proud of it that I got it framed, Angie, and we loved it. And when Angie presented it, she had a very emotional speech because Angie remembered herself coming from a large family from Taiwan. And look at her now. She is our state representative, so she's come a long way too. Congratulations, Angie. Thank you. you got the history here of a summary of the Valle family. That's just a summary. I'm going to add a little few things. The process of nominating this building started 10 years ago. Lupita Torres and her husband Tony nominated the Pascual. It really started with Pascual. And through the 10 years, they talked to a lot of school boards about it. They made a lot of phone calls. And Lupita and I made this folder. It's a thick folder of all of Pascual's accomplishments from high school and college. And it has 20 endorsement letters from people from Garland. So we were real proud, but it was not going anywhere. So when this building came into the picture, Pascal said, I want this building to be named after my mom and dad. They were the pioneers. They are the ones that started this. So we changed it, and I do want to thank Cindy Castañeda, one of the trustees, for bringing it to vote this year, and it was approved. Thank you for the school board this year that it was approved, and we're very happy. I do want to add a few things. All the Valle children were born in the United States. Two of them, the two youngest ones, were born in Garland. Pascal, their first home was in the dairy, on Dairy Road. There were a few houses there, and Pascal was born in one of those houses in 1931. 4 years later, Luis was born in a rent house on Avenue B, I think. And it was then that finally the Valle family bought a house on Avenue C, 620 Avenue C. And if you've ever gone by there, it's the corner of Avenue C and Santa Fe Road. That property is still the Valle's property. I do also want you to know that Mom and Pop were very for great education for their children. They always participate in all the events, even though their English was not as good. I'm going to tell you some of the things, because he's like a history book if you start talking to him. Pascual never missed a day of school in his 12 years of school. Not one single day. I have all of his awards, perfect attendance that he got. And I'm sure the rest of the children did too, because Mom and Pop made them go to school. You know, they were not going to stay home and be lazy. During the years that I've been married, 54 years to Pascual, I have heard a lot of stories. But I found out why Pascual had very strong, muscular legs that I fell in love with. At that time, they walked, run, and rode their bicycles everywhere. And some of you that are here know that. There were no cars. At lunchtime, they would run home for lunch and run back to school. How many of our kids do that? On Sunday, they would walk along the railroad tracks all the way to Rowlett to attend Mass at the Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Rowlett, because Garland did not have a Catholic church then. Now this you won't believe. Pascual, Chappie, and Louis would get on their bikes on Saturday mornings early and ride their bikes all the way to Fort Worth. Now you know, you get out there and the traffic is terrible. At that time, there was no traffic. I asked Pascal, what about all the cars? He said, there were not many cars on the road. I asked him, how do you get there? And he said, let's see, okay, here it is. They would start on Forest Lane to Northwest Highway, to Highway 183, and then to Jacksboro Highway to get to their sister's house. Can you imagine that? That's why their legs were muscular. They would get there very early in the morning. They would work on the yard and help Nana with her yard. And Nana would make them a real good meal. And then they would head back to Garland and arrive home about midnight. After finishing the services, the oldest boy, Manuel, and his family settled in El Paso. King settled in Concord, California. He married a California girl. Lupe settled in 29 Palms, California, and all her family are in California. And Nana's family, Nana who's here, they settled with their children and grandchildren in the River Oaks area of Fort Worth. The other 4 children resided in Garland, and they raised their children and their grandchildren here in Garland, and that was Pascual and I, Luis and Nikki Chase, Joe and Janie, and Jesus and Vera. The Valles in Garland have always stayed very involved in community activities, like we all joined the PTAs. Some of us were in the band association, city and school theater events, athletic associations, city board. I served on the city board, volunteer work with the schools, and the police department. Long time ago, the police department did not have people that spoke Spanish, and Pascal would go and help and translate when they couldn't understand people. He even translated for a judge one time. Shui has also, our other brother here, Shui has been very involved in the VFW. Pascual did a volunteer work with the boys and girls of our community for 20 years. He would work 8 hours at Kraft Foods, come home, change into his play clothes, and go out and work with the kids. He coached the girls' softball teams. He coached boys football, pee-wee, up to the 8th grade, and Little League baseball. For 20 years he did that because that was what he wanted to do all his life. He wanted to be a coach. Some of those boys went on to college. Those boys now, a couple of them all the way to the pro teams, including our son, Tony. So those boys, now men, honor Pascual every year by playing golf with him at the Garland Sports Hall of Fame Bobby Boyd golf tournament. He's always looking forward to that golf tournament because he gets to see his boys. We have always been proud to be Garlandites and raising our children with the best education in the Garland Public Schools. We love Garland and have become an integral part of the community. At the same time, we are very proud of our Hispanic heritage. We strive to keep our language, customs, and our family values. Last weekend, I wish all of you would have seen it. I know some of you that are here joined us last weekend. We had a Valle family reunion at Granger Recreation Center. That's at Central Park. And that brought all of us in the family together, cousins, uncles, aunts. It was just great. We had over 100 members present. The other day, I saw a Joel Osteen quote that said, "God will not allow anything to come into your life unless he has a purpose for it." All right, we're hoping this building with a Hispanic name will serve 2 purposes. Number 1, to the Hispanic community, that the Hispanic name, Manuel and Maria Valle, serve as a role model and a sign of opportunity. That the legacy of good citizenship and patriotism that is left by the Valles to their sons, daughters, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren is never forgotten. Purpose number 2, to the Garland community, that this building symbolizes acceptance of multicultural diversity, and a facility that welcomes newcomers to Garland ISD with kindness and friendship. I want to thank you again on behalf of the Valle family for taking time to join us this morning and sharing this very special ceremony with the family. I have tears in my eyes. I want to thank you, especially all of you that drove from far out of town. Some of you here came from Fort Worth, from Grand Prairie, from Cleburne, I think it's Cleburne, and even my sister came all the way from the Austin area, Lago Vista, and I appreciate Laura and her husband that are here. I'm the oldest of 7 girls, all college graduates too. I also want to thank Chris Moore, the GISD Communications Director, and his assistant, Judy Crin, for working on this ceremony and program. You both did a good job. I also want to thank Steve Rhodes, who is here today, for the article in the Garland High School Alumni newsletter that was mailed to over 1,000 Garland High School alumni. And many of the alumni and classmates of the Valle children are present today. So thank you for being here. It's an honor. I also want to thank, I don't know if you all know that the Dallas Morning News has a online newspaper. And Ray Lasinski wrote this wonderful article in yesterday's online dallasnews.com. In fact, I printed it, and it's like a book. I mean, it is 10 pages long. It tells all the stories about the Valle children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. In fact, I think I'm going to publish a book because it is very interesting. So thank you. Somebody else is going to come after me. Thank you. Nana wants just to say a little something. You want to get up, Nana?
I can't.
Oh, she can't.
Get up.
No. I just want to give my own personal thanks for this honor, for my brothers, my sisters, myself, and my children. Thank you very much.